Here we are now. We're going to talk about our global economy and employment, and you're traveling and you're working for an American company and you are in another country. Are American-based businesses required to protect workers on the global assembly line? And this is very interesting because we do this, and I want you to see the different perspective again, the difficult ethical perspective. And you see how the judges argue in this situation, and always look for the dissent judge, because he has very good reasoning why he's not going along with the majority. The dissenting judge does not agree with the decision, and it does not agree with the justification. And the concurring judge does not agree with the justification, but he does agree with the decision of the majority. DBCP is a pesticide that the EPA suspended registration for the American sales, distribution, or use of all pesticides containing DBCP. We're not allowed to do that. Now, I want you to know that we do manufacture it, and we sell it to South America and other countries, and then we import their vegetable, their fruit, different things. But this is what's going on, and there is a regulation about these things. However, Dow Chemical and Shell Oil continue to ship the pesticides containing DBCP to Costa Rica, where Standard Fruit Company, an American subsidiary of a company headquarters in Florida, used several 100,000 gallons. This is a very interesting case in your textbook. Dow Chemical and Shell Oil, 1990 case. And I'd like you to compare it with the Union Carbide case that I will post on our discussion bulletin. Let's go back to now to Dow Chemical. In 1984, Dominic Castro Alfaro, a Costa Rica plantation worker, 80 and 81 other employees of Standard Fruit Company and their wives, filed a suit in a state district court in Houston, Texas. So here they are in Costa Rica, and they filed a suit in Houston, Texas. Right away, what in the world is going on here? They are injured over there. In it, they alleged that their handling of DBC caused them serious personal injuries, including sterility, for which Shell and Dow were liable under the theories of product liability, strict liability, and a breach of warranty. After 3 years of legal maneuvering by the defendants, which is Dow Chemical and Shell, the trial court dismissed the case on the ground of forum nonconvenience, which means Texas is not the court to adjudicate this case. You have to find another forum that it's more convenient for the people in Costa Rica. And of course, why don't you have in Costa Rica? If you're going to come to Texas, you're going to have to fly it all the time, expert testimony, the different of languages, the different of temperature, you name it. Therefore, you're not going to argue the case. The defendant, in a way, won the case. In theory, which is, what's a theory? Providing explanation. The plaintiff should take their case to a court in a more convenient location, and in this case will be Costa Rica. The appellate court reversed the dismissal, and the Texas Supreme Court agreed. So what happened here? The people in Costa Rica says, we want to argue the case in Texas. The appellate court agreed and reversed the lower court decision that should be argued in Costa Rica, and even the Supreme Court. That means the defendant, now remember, these people got injured, and Dow Chemical and Shell were willing to spend a lot of money on an attorney not to argue the case here in the United States, specifically in Texas. The case was settled in 1992, with millions of dollars being awarded to the plaintiff in Costa Rica. Please read the opinion of the majority and note how the concurring and dissenting judges clash. You're going to see that. Who are the stakeholders in this case? How does its outcome help or hurt them? Again, where do you think they're going to have or receive more money? Is it in Texas or is it in Costa Rica? Costa Rican's plaintiff They are helped because of the ability to sue in Texas, means compulsory process against the defendant. We have an adversary legal system. In Costa Rica, they don't have an adversary system. Witnesses, trial by jury. Judgment will be easily enforceable against American companies because we have such a thing as preponderance of evidence, 5149. So the plaintiff have a much better chances to win. You innocent until proven guilty. All those things are in favor of the plaintiff over here. It will hurt the multinational defendants insofar as they risk real liability, will have to produce witnesses, documents, etc. That cost the company a lot of money to do all that. The Texas citizen now, we just finished between the plaintiff, in Costa Rica, and we just finished about the defendant, the company, how much it would cost them to provide all the stuff to show that it does not hurt the people, that has nothing to do with the pesticides. Now for the Texas citizen, as a taxpayers, I mean, they're paying for the judge, they're paying for the court, they're paying for all the stuff that's going on. They are hurt by having to pay for the judge, the jury, court personnel for the trial, possibly hurt if businesses are discouraged from moving to Texas due to what? To litigation. And you know the dissenting judge exactly says, wait a minute, if we're going to have somebody hurt in Costa Rica or in Brazil or in another country, and we're going to argue the case in Texas, or we're going to argue the case in New Jersey, or we're going to argue the cases in New York, companies will not come in these states because they don't want to have litigation. It's very, very expensive. They're going to go to another state and not this one. Backlog of cases, if courts are open to too many litigants. We already are, as far as I know, in New Jersey, 4 to 5 years backlogged with cases. As consumer now, you're a consumer, I am a consumer of imported food products. They are helped by multinationals being held accountable for their action. Next thing you know, they are held liable, and we are taking the product, and what's going to happen? The price will go up. So next thing you know, we're going to end up spending more money for doing something that they did in another country. Costa Rican citizen, they are hurt by the inability to watch the trial, to see that justice is done. Witnesses may have to travel a great distance to trial. Hurt if this is seen as a local matter that is not decided locally, and helped by realization that multinational cannot escape liability for harm they caused. So to the Costa Rican citizen, there's mixed feeling here, because next thing you know, if the multinational company does not do something about it, they're going to get away another time. Very, very interesting. Why then allow Costa Ricans injured by the United States firms greater recovery? Why? One justification for allowing a greater potential recovery is the cost of litigating suit against multinationals. And one of the reasons why, and I remember this very well many times, first of all, who is in a better position to put the injured person in the same position they were before they got hurt? It's always going to be the companies, because the company are the ones that are manufacture the product or the chemical or the toxic. And they're the one then, but to tell you the truth, who really end up paying for it? Because the bottom line, even judges says in court, you know the product will hurt somebody. Therefore, put that extra dollar, save it at the side as an insurance so that you have the money to help the people. Very interesting. Another is that the multinational are earning profit at an American rate and not as a Costa Rican one. And a recovery against them should be proportionate to the profit gained by ignoring harms to Costa Rican workers. So, hey, American company, you're making the money according to your rate, therefore not Costa Rican. Why might Costa Rica legal system afford its citizens such meager protection? Well, presumably the potential recovery would not seem as a meager considering Costa Rica's standard of living, where the plaintiffs earn about $1 per hour. Big difference. You can see why the company wants to argue in Costa Rica. If the cost of litigating were not so high, like traveling to Texas to view documents, and the defendant were not two giant multinationals, corporations, vigilantly defending themselves. Do you think that would have been a different situation? The following case will be attached to our discussion board, and this is a very interesting case, the Quaker Oats 1996 versus Bradley Chia. I want you to be very careful in reading it because this guy got hurt in the course of employment. Was on his weekend off, but he was on call. And I know some of you are on call with beepers and everything else. So in the Quaker Oats case, what ethical perspective were argued by the justices? And you're going to see in this case that Quaker Oats not only provide workers' comp, which was 80% of his income, but they remodeling his home, they got him a van, they trained the wife as a nurse so that she was getting paid for taking care of him. He was a quadriplegic, so it was you'll see what Quaker Oats did to make reasonable accommodation, and this is where the company goes to court, and you wonder, like, what kind of company is Quaker that goes to court because they don't want to pay for him anymore? And he was getting paid on the workers' comp, and he was also getting a full paycheck because of all the reasonable accommodation that Quaker Oats did for him. This is why I want you then to, what ethical perspective did the judge's ruling came to that decision? And I want you to find it. How can the court balances the rights of employers, the disabled, and the public or society at large? And this is the thing that I like you to discuss. In your opinion, how far should an employer go to provide assistance? And you're going to see from Quaker Oats how far the employer went. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that? And is it something to do, of course, the bigger the company, the more profit they make, I guess a reasonable accommodation, it's according to their income and their profit. So I would like you to post your arguments on the bulletin board and what ethical perspective you think the judges decide the case. And I really look forward to reading your opinion. Thank you.